Death and rebirth, past and present, repeating and returning. Round and round we go. There's a reason we see the same scenes again and again in Vertigo.
Well, it's a cinch. I look up, I look down.
And it has something to do with this shape. Almost every movie can be summarized in a sentence, but few can be encapsulated in a symbol. This is Motifs and Motives. Vertigo and Spirals. The spiral is the perfect symbol for Vertigo because it visualizes the core theme of obsession. How do we define obsession? An unhealthy and persistent preoccupation with an idea. Because a person's mental and emotional energy keeps returning to this idea, obsession is powered by repetition. Now, think of a symbol that best represents these ideas of obsession and repetition. A circle might work. It captures the idea of being stuck in a loop and circling the same idea endlessly. But the spiral adds an element of descent and negative change that we often associate with someone who is obsessed. Vertigo is a tale about obsession, and Hitchcock uses the spiral in many layers of the film to amplify this theme. Now, after a traumatic accident, our protagonist, Scotty Ferguson, retires as a detective.
It wasn't your fault.
I know. I have acrophobia, which gives me vertigo, and I get dizzy. Boy, what a moment to find out I had it.
But soon after, an old acquaintance asks Scotty a favor.
Now, what's in your mind, Gavin?
I asked you to come up here, Scotty, knowing that you'd quit detective work. But I wondered whether you'd go back on the job as a special favor to me. I want you to follow my wife.
To follow his wife for a very peculiar reason.
I'm afraid some harm may come to her.
From whom?
Someone dead. Do you believe that someone out of the past, someone dead, can enter and take possession of a living being?
No.
Scotty doesn't believe Madaline is possessed, merely obsessed.
Well, I think that explains it. Anyone could become obsessed with the past with a background like that.
Obsession is the major theme of Vertigo, but there are minor themes that are also cyclical ideas. The idea of death and rebirth, and how the past haunts the present. These minor themes can also be represented in a spiral, and you can see just how perfect this motif is. Now, we have to talk about the title itself. Vertigo is a condition described as dizzying, swirling sensation as if the world around you is spinning. The spirals in the opening credits instantly evoke this sensation. But Hitchcock wouldn't be Hitchcock if he left it at that. Even before the movie truly begins, we hear the idea of vertigo. Listen to the mesmerizing melody in Bernard Herrmann's magnificent score. In fact, there are two scales being played, one ascending and one descending. The rising, falling, and repeating notes. It even sounds like a spiral. In the first 3 minutes, Hitchcock has already planted this idea in the title, music, and graphic design. He wants us to think about this shape so we can draw the connections when we see it later on. But this is just the beginning. There are spirals throughout the movie. Scotty begins his investigation and sees Madaline for the first time at Ernie's restaurant. He follows her throughout the city. She visits the grave of Carlotta Valdez. And then the museum to stare at her portrait.
The lady sitting in there, who's the woman in the painting she's looking at?
Oh, that's Carlotta.
Here, Scotty begins to see Madeline's obsession with Carlotta. Hitchcock could have used any hairstyle and we would understand Madeleine's preoccupation. But the fact that Hitchcock chose a spiral twist is a stroke of genius. It connects Madeleine's obsession with Carlotta and later becomes a key part of Scotty's obsession with Madeleine. Later, Madeleine throws herself into the bay. But Scotty saves her. And a connection begins to form.
My name is Madeleine Astor.
My name's John Ferguson.
Good, strong name.
Acquaintances call me Scotty.
I shall call you Mr. Ferguson.
Oh, gee whiz, I wouldn't like that. Oh, no.
They travel to Muir Woods and find a redwood stump which has rings that are reminiscent of a spiral. Another clever way to visualize the minor theme of death and rebirth, and a way to symbolize Madeleine's obsession with the past.
Here I was born, and there I died.
By this point, Scotty has fallen in love with Madeleine and wants to save her from this obsession.
I'm responsible for you now. You know, the Chinese say that once you've saved a person's life, you're responsible for it forever, so I'm committed.
Madeleine recalls a dream connected to Carlotta.
Well, why? What's happened?
I had the dream. Dream came back again.
No, it's gonna be all right.
And Scotty believes he now knows how to cure her.
Oh, you're going to be all right now, Madeleine. Don't you see you've given me something to work on now? I'm going to take you down there to that mission this afternoon, and when you see it, you'll remember when you saw it before, and it'll finish your dream. It'll destroy it, I promise you. Madeleine!
But this plan backfires. Scotty's vertigo gets the better of him. And Madeleine falls. As we discussed earlier, obsession leads to an inevitable downfall. In this case, literally. The spiral stairs become a highly symbolic location where Madeleine's obsession ends and Scotty's truly begins. After her death, Scotty has a mental break. But when he recovers, he begins his own obsessive downward spiral. Essentially, the story structure itself becomes a spiral. He retraces his steps, returning to the same locations he saw Madeleine. Just as we saw Madeleine unable to let go of the past, now it's Scotty's turn. These repeated scenes help the audience experience Scotty's obsession firsthand, drawing us further into the story and the character. That's when Scotty spots Judy, with an uncanny resemblance to his beloved Madeleine. Like before, he follows her. He sees her in a window, and Judy becomes his new obsession.
Well, what is it?
Just let me talk to you.
What about?
You.
Why?
Because you remind me of somebody.
Their relationship blooms, but Scotty has yet to shed his obsession. He begins to change Judy into Madeleine, buying her the same clothes.
I just want an ordinary, simple gray suit.
You want me to be dressed like her?
Judy, I just want you to look nice. I know the kind of a suit that'll look well on you.
And convincing her to dye her hair blonde.
Color of your hair.
Oh, no.
He even asks to put her hair in the same spiral twist in order to complete the transformation.
Well?
It should be back from your face and pinned at the neck. I told her that. I told you that.
We tried it. It just didn't seem to suit me.
Please, Judy.
Eventually, he succeeds and brings his obsession full circle. What died has been reborn. The past has returned. To visualize this, Hitchcock uses a simple arc shot that literally spirals around them. It starts in a close-up, opens up to a medium close-up as Scotty unlocks a memory from his past romance with Mádeleïn, before pushing back into another close-up. It should be a romantic moment, but the spiraling camera actually becomes a bit of tragic foreshadowing.
Help me with this, will you?
But Scotty eventually learns he's been deceived. And his obsession ends at the same church bell tower where it all began.
I heard voices. God have mercy.
So, why is Vertigo's use of the spiral motif so important? Hitchcock found the perfect symbol to represent the main theme of obsession, and used a variety of techniques to focus the audience's attention to it.